Hey there, innovation champions. Melissa Dinwiddie here. I'm going to take you back to around 2012. I was at a conference called, I kid you not, the World Domination Summit, Portland, Oregon. There were 2,000 or 3,000 people. I can't exactly remember, but we were packed in a theater, standing room only. Brené Brown walked on stage, and within the first few minutes, she had us doing something deeply uncool. First, she had us strike a cool pose, like arms crossed, chin up, putting on our sunglasses, maximum detachment. Easy enough. Then she had us dance. I can't remember if there was music on or not, but we were all dancing. Okay, so still manageable. We felt pretty self-conscious, kind of dorky. Then she had us all sing Journey's Don't Stop Believin' at the top of our lungs. Now, at this point, there was no aiming for cool anymore. Deeply uncool at this point. Her talk was about the difference between fitting in and belonging. They sound like really similar terms, but they're actually completely different. And she talked about how cool is, by definition, the absence of vulnerability, and how belonging, by definition, requires vulnerability. Bing! Like, my mind was exploding. Now, I have heard that idea described 100 different ways since then, but I still feel it from that moment, that talk with Brené Brown, because she didn't just tell me, she made me experience it 3 times in escalating order of social exposure before she even named it. Now, that's not a speaking trick. That is a learning design principle. And it is the same principle behind every innovation initiative I've seen actually work. And everyone I've watched quietly die by February. So here is what I see again and again. A company books a speaker, or they run an offsite, or they invest in a 2-day innovation workshop. People leave fired up, and that energy is real. And then Monday arrives. The team is back at their desks. They've got, overflowing inboxes. They got sprint planning in an hour. And the insight that felt so alive on Friday is already kind of starting to fog over. By the end of the month, the vocabulary is kind of faded out. And by February, the initiative has just kind of been quietly shelved. By Q2 reviews, the leader who championed it, they have less credibility than before because they tried something and it didn't stick. Now, this is not a people problem, and it is not a motivation problem. It's a design problem. So here's what I've learned from years of facilitation work. A single powerful experience, no matter how well designed it is, it's still just a single data point. Learning that sticks requires both halves. So let's talk about those halves. Half one is that immersive experience. This is what creates the initial shift. You got that new possibility, you've got the shared language, you've got that felt sense of, oh yeah, this is actually doable. offsites, keynotes, workshops, when they're designed well, they do something that no book can do, no email or, online course can replicate. They get learning into the body. So that's half one. But we also have half two, and that's the ongoing practice. This is what turns that shift into a new way of working. Not another event, not a follow-up training, just small, consistent experiments woven into the rhythms that teams already have. Retrospectives, sprint reviews, stand-ups, weekly one-on-ones. Without the immersive experience, practice just feels mechanical. People do the thing without understanding why they're doing the thing. Without the practice, the immersive experience is just a memory. Together, they compound. And by the way, this is also why I say this as someone who does keynotes for a living. A keynote without a practice plan is really just a really expensive motivational moment. So, when an initiative fails to stick, the instinct is to add more. A follow-up workshop, a refresher, a second offsite, which can be great, but more immersive content on top of more immersive content misses the design flaw entirely. The problem wasn't that the first experience wasn't good enough. The problem is that experience without practice doesn't transfer. The research on learning retention has been really clear on this for decades. Application matters. Repetition matters. Low stakes practice matters. Not because it's nice to have, but because without it, the neural pathways that hold new behaviors don't form. So what that means practically is a 15-minute experiment run consistently beats a 2-day workshop run once. Think about if you're learning, I've been learning a new instrument. I've been learning to play stand-up bass I started playing it 3 years ago. Imagine if I went to a 2-day workshop to play the bass. Actually, I did. I went to a 5-day camp. If I did that once and then I never picked up the bass again, not going to get me very far. But if I spent 15 minutes a day learning to play the bass over a 3-year span, I'm going to be a lot better than one 5-day immersion. That's just how learning works. It's not, and this is, imagine taking a 15-minute experiment and running it every day consistently. That is always going to beat a 2-day workshop run once, not because the experiment is better content, but because the experiment creates practice. So here's an experiment to try at your next retrospective. Experiment number 5 from Innovation at Work, my book. This one is called The Learning Autopsy. It takes 15 minutes. You can do it with a team size, 2 to 8 people. In my book, I give you lots of different adaptations if you have different size teams. It's crisis ready. It is remote friendly. And I give you lots of tips on how to run it in various different scenarios in Innovation at Work. So after any setback, a missed deadline, a failed prototype, miscommunication, a decision that didn't land, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Spend 10 minutes asking one question. What would we change if we could replay this? That's it. What would we change if we could replay this? Not what went wrong, not whose fault was it, just what would we do differently? And what do we now know that we didn't know before? That's it. What would we change if we could replay this? Document the specific insights while they're fresh. That is it. Run it once And it's a useful exercise. Run it every sprint retrospective for 2 months, and it becomes how your team thinks. Psychological safety doesn't get built through declarations. It gets built through repeated evidence. Here, learning from mistakes is the point. That's what we want to, emphasize over and over and over through practice, right? And that's the difference between an initiative and a practice. So what does this mean for you? Before you book the next speaker or plan the next offsite, and I say this as someone who does keynotes for a living, ask yourself, what happens after? What's the practice that will keep this alive when I'm gone and the energy has settled? If the answer is, we'll figure that out later, you already know what February looks like. The good news, you don't need to overhaul anything. You need one experiment, one meeting slot, one manager willing to go first. Start there. If this landed for you, try the Learning Autopsy at your next retrospective and send me a message to let me know what happened. And if you want 51 more experiments just like it, Innovation at Work is waiting for you. innovationatworkbook.com. You can read all the details about it. You can order it right there. The link is in the description as well. And if you're holding an innovation mandate yourself and you want to think through the design together, not what to launch, but how to actually make it stick, let's spend 30 minutes together. Book a free innovation strategy session, innovationatworkbook.com/call. And again, that link is also in the description. Now, if this was useful, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. I'll be back soon with more practical tools for leaders who want innovation that doesn't quit in February. Until then, stay curious, stay playful, and keep creating the impossible. Ciao.